It's a tale as old as time. It's not the creation myths surrounding the planet Eternia or any of the other things associated with Masters of the Universe. I'm talking about the quest to make a brand new Masters of the Universe movie. But you may be thinking, wasn't there already a Masters movie? Well, there were two of them actually. Not only was there the animated He-Man and She-Ra crossover, Secret of the Sword, from the 80s, but there was also the live-action Masters of the Universe film, much beloved by many fans today, but at the time completely scorned by audiences and critics alike, failing to make hardly any impact at all. Since that time, Mattel has embarked on a mission to try and get He-Man back into movie theaters everywhere, in a way that will please discerning audiences of the modern era. However, this seemingly simple mission has turned into a 20-year-long quest. All the way back in the early 2000s, it was even announced that John Woo would be directing a He-Man film right around the time the 2000X animated series came out from Mike Young Productions. And since then, it's been a never-ending stream of rumors, rewrites, studio changes, rights lapsing and being acquired by other studios. It seems to be an endless prospect. However, today, via Variety, so it's as official as you can possibly get, it's been announced that Nicholas Galitzine will play He-Man for Amazon and MGM's Masters of the Universe film, which left Netflix's development pipeline a little while back. Let's go ahead and have a look at the Variety article itself. Nicholas Galitzine may need to call his hairdresser. The brunette Idea of You actor has been cast as He-Man, the blonde barbarian who inspired the popular Mattel toy in the upcoming Masters of the Universe. I think the reason why it's interesting for us is because we have heard this before. We have actually been party to two other He-Men, either being heavily rumored or officially announced, but I don't think it was ever as black and white as it is here, like this. I think that this is a lot bolder of a proclamation and not just a, oh yeah, I'm attached to that kind of thing, like with Noah, how'd you say his name, Centennial or whatever. I never thought that he was a very good choice. And then there's the other guy who I can't even remember his name that was batted around for a while to be his replacement. So there's been two others pretty much. And we finally have one that I think the confidence is there that they've really put his name out there. Now, I've not actually seen anything with this guy, and I looked him up, and it looks like he has a pretty healthy list of credits there. He's definitely a rising star, and is definitely kind of on a much greater upward trajectory than the other two names that were announced before. Regardless of how appropriate or inappropriate a choice he is for He-Man, and we'll get to that in a moment, it cannot be overstated about who is attached to direct this, and that's the Bumblebee director, Travis Knight. I'm not sure that you could have told me a name that would have made me happier to hear attached to a Masters of the Universe film than Travis Knight. And that's because I feel like the Bumblebee movie is the very best out of the Transformers franchise. And had Travis Knight been allowed to do exactly what he wanted to do in that movie, it would have been by a country mile. It would have been the best. It's already by far better than the others. But all of the things that people love about that movie, all the things that the fans appreciate about that movie, wouldn't have happened without Travis Knight's insistence. All that stuff on Cybertron, that was Travis Knight fighting a producer who I despise, Lorenzo de Bonventura, to get that stuff done. All the things that revises bad continuity from the Michael Bay films, some of which I like, by the way, and a few of which I despise, that was Travis Knight fighting to fix things about the continuity and bring it closer to the G1 feeling. Not to mention the incredible emotion and the heart-wrenching stuff that's in that movie and the performances he was able to get out of the actors and the comedy. I cannot say enough good things about it. What I'm trying to tell you is I think there might actually be a reason to be excited about this movie with Travis Knight at the helm. You might be thinking, well, it's just Bumblebee. Who knows how he do? Have you seen Kubo and the Two Strings? Another film that was helmed by Travis Knight, even though he wasn't the one that came up with that movie. That's another very talented person that's actually helming the Ultraman CGI film at Netflix. I'm just saying that his name does inspire a certain amount of confidence. And here you can see that Variety does talk about how torturous that the road to development on this movie has been. It says Masters of the Universe has endured a particularly torturous 2-decade-plus journey to the big screen. The project was set up at Warner Brothers and Sony before moving to Netflix, which axed the film in 2023 over budget concerns. Countless directors, including John Stevenson, John M. Chu, McGee, they've all been attached to the film, Kyle Allen, yeah, that was the name of the guy that was also attached to play He-Man. There's just been a lot of things going on with it. Here's the part that a lot of people are concerned about, and I promise we're about to get into if this guy will make a good He-Man or what. It's this synopsis that people are concerned about. Masters of the Universe follows Prince Adam, aka He-Man, who crashes to Earth in a spaceship as a child, and decades later returns to his home planet to defend it from the evil forces of the baddie known as Skeletor. But in order to defeat the powerful villain, he needs to uncover the mysteries of his past and become He-Man, referred to in this world as the most powerful man in the universe. Unsurprisingly, lots of folks have raised an eyebrow at that synopsis because it's a little surprising, I think, with some of the things that they say here. They talk about how he crashes to Earth when he's a child, and then he goes back to Eternia to reclaim his past as He-Man. I mean, this is kind of weird, but truthfully, when you think about it, this would change very little about the He-Man lore. They could be extremely true to the lore of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe with just this one change, but I think a lot of people aren't properly understanding why this change was probably made, and that's point of view character. We see it again and again in many, many films that there always has to be a character that kind of introduces you to a brand new world or a brand new, kind of dimension or whatever you want to say, especially in these fantasy films. We saw this like with Wolverine and Rogue were both these kind of point of view characters in the original X-Men film. That's a good example. The agent guy, I can't even remember his name, in the original Hellboy movie, that was a good example of like a point of view entry character. Jubilee in the original X-Men 90s series. And to an extent, you even have the kids from the 1987 Masters of the Universe film, which are definitely the main characters of that movie, aside from Skeletor, who I think would also be considered a lead of that film. These are all characters who kind of bring you into the world. I think that the reason this was done was to make sure that He-Man could remain the point of view character, because this way you can still have him be from Eternia, but clearly his parents sent him off because they were afraid of Skeletor, didn't want him to be killed, and then he can come back and be reintroduced to this planet and reintroduced to this continuity and take the audience with him. It really is a clever way to do it without really changing that much. All you're really changing is where he was raised, and he can kind of work as a point of view character for general audiences, which is very much needed, by the way. If they just put something out there that's just made for us without much of an explanation, then they're not going to do any good. So, yeah, I'm definitely not being very judgy about this yet because Travis Knight is attached to it. I think he's going to do right by the fans. I think that he's going to try his very best. And if it's really horrible, well, hopefully it doesn't tank the whole brand with it. But at least we can always just say, hey, remember that really weird Masters of the Universe movie that MGM put out several years ago? So, oh well. But let's get back to this guy who's playing He-Man. Nicholas Galitzine. This guy, I did some reading about him, and he's pretty interesting. Just some stats on this guy. I think he's 29 years old. So to me, that is just about right. I think that they always ran the risk of going too young. And so I'm glad that they didn't do that here. I think he's right at 6 feet tall, from what I understand. And they can definitely work with that. He's not a short king or anything like that. I think that's right. He's taller than me, so there you go. As long as I can look up to He-Man. And of course, they can change that around. Think about Tom Cruise. That guy is teeny tiny and, he doesn't look like it. And then as for his hair, I know they make a joke about dyeing it blonde, but he's already had blonde hair in several roles. So it looks perfectly natural on him. That's not a concern. Some of his family may have been Russian royalty at one point that went to America after the Russian Revolution. So that was something else interesting that I found out about him. But yeah, he's definitely a rising star. He's been receiving a lot of great notices for a lot of the things that he's been doing. And I certainly do think that the facial structure is there. I'm sure, though, that the number one comment I'm going to receive, and I'm sure I've already gotten it by now, a lot of people probably didn't even listen this far into the video, is, oh my gosh, this guy's a twig. Oh, he's too small. Why didn't they get John Cena? There's all kinds of, funny comments like that I'm sure that this video will have. And that's fine. Drive that engagement. This is a tale as old as time. Every single time they cast one of these superheroes or something in one of these films, there's 90 million fanboys who come out of the woodworks. It's like, yeah, he's not buff enough. And, they probably look like me, so they don't have any right to talk. But, guys, I think we should all know by now that in Hollywood, they have pretty much the next best thing to steroids and personal trainers. They get these guys buff in no time flat. That's not going to be an issue. And even if it was, effects can kind of make up the difference or whatever. I think that here they are really just trying to cast somebody with acting chops, with ability, who can play someone that the audience can relate to and root for. And of course, that's far more important than muscle bound or whatever you want to say. I think we need to stay open-minded about that. And as you can see from the picture I mocked up, if he does get into some, decent shape, it wouldn't look that bad. Give him a little bit of blonde hair, and I think it would look halfway decent. So I think we should all just stay open-minded here. I think there's going to be more to this story. I hope that release date of June 5th, 2026, I hope that holds out. We've heard release dates before. I think that they're on pretty solid footing here. I think definitely they're going to take some time to try to, polish that script up and make it as good as it can. And like I said, I do trust Travis Knight's direction with this film. If he leaves the project, though, that's when I'll get worried, and that's when I'll say all bets are off. But until then, I am cautiously optimistic. So let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about this Nicholas Galitzine guy who's going to be playing He-Man? And let me know what you think about this project in general. Is it something you don't care about at all? Is it something that you're just hoping for the best for? Or do you hate it already without even giving it a chance? I have a feeling many will take that last option. As always, God bless you and yours. I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.